So thanks, Ria. Welcome to the series of Live the Life You Want, How to Overcome Adversity, Be Happy, and Live the Life of Your Dreams. I really appreciate you coming here. I think you have such an amazing journey and such an inspiration for people. And I was hoping you could just talk a little bit about yourself and your experience and how it contributes in particular to adversity, overcoming adversity, but anything else that you think would be helpful for the listeners to hear today.
Sure. Thank you, Giselle. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And yeah, absolutely be honored to share a little bit about my experience. You know, I think we all experience adversity in life. You know, it's not a question of if we're going to have to deal with something that's tough or something that's a struggle. It's just a question of when for all of us and just what that looks like. So it's not a question of if something is going to happen. It's a question of how do we deal with it and who do we become because of it. And I think that's one of the strong takeaways that I've been able to learn from my own experience that I love to share with others is, you know, we can take whatever life gives us and we can be bitter about it, or we can choose to be better because of it. Because we can take it and we can say, I can look for the good in this, or I can look in the bad, and we will absolutely find whatever we look for. So I was raised on a small rural farm in Alabama in the United States. And we're very ostracized from society, really. We didn't go to church. I didn't go to school. We were homeschooled. I never attended public education at all, in fact. And I was a victim of sexual abuse by my father starting at age 12. And that progressed as I got older to the point of just almost nightly interactions and even intercourse as I got older. And then it got worse from there, where some of my experiences included I was forced to play the role of a wife, and even had a wedding ring that we wore in public, not around family. You know, there were other people that were involved and really just going down a dark path. And, you know, it took me a long time to get to the point where I could even talk about it, because at the time there was so much just shame and a sense of hurt and guilt and shame, you know, a huge burden of shame, that I didn't have a strong sense of self-worth. I didn't have a strong sense of self-identity. And I really felt just that overwhelming shame and guilt just pressing in on me. So, you know, for a long time, even after leaving the home, I wasn't able to talk about it. And, you know, a lot of the signs were there, a lot of the symptoms were there, but no one ever really asked. And, you know, we were very isolated. We were pretty much separated from society. So I left home when I was 19. And I didn't have anything when I left home. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any money. But I was just desperate to get away. And, you know, I reached that point of saying, you know, I can take what's happened to me and I can let it hold me back the rest of my life. Or I can just say, hey, I'm going to move forward and be who I can. And so I kind of locked it away and turned the key and threw the key away. I said, I'm not going to even go there ever again. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to bring it up. I just pretended the first 19 years of life didn't happen. So one of the things I like to talk about is that in my book, Beyond Bound and Broken, you know, that's not true healing. I call the 3 stages of resilience. You know, the first stage is when we're actively going through the situation, whatever we're dealing with or whatever we're struggling with. You know, that's that captivity phase. And it may not be a physical situation. It may be emotional as much as anything. So that's when we're still in that active struggle and we're trying to deal with it. And the next phase, which is where I was when I left home, is just coping phase. You know, I learned to be functional and deal with everything normally, but I pretended it didn't happen. And that's not really true healing. And I think I only experience that when I'm able to move beyond that and say, you know, yes, terrible things happen, but I can be stronger because of it. So the third phase really I talk about is the conquest. Well, that's where we overcome whatever it is that's happened to us. You know, it's a battle that sometimes we need to fight every single day. It's a decision. Sometimes it's getting up out of bed and saying, I'm going to be strong today. I'm going to decide. So, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. What I like to say is that, there are three things that I talk about as how we overcome, and how do we overcome adversity? Because that's a question I get asked a lot. And I talk about the three things that we can do. Number one, we need to change our thoughts, because our thoughts will determine our emotions. What we think about will cause our emotions or our feelings. And then our feelings will determine our actions. And our actions will determine our results. So if we change the thoughts we're thinking, we will change our emotions, and then change our actions, and ultimately change our results. So, there are things in life that we cannot control. It might be raining outside today, and you can't do anything about that. But if we can start looking for the good in that, in any situation, and quit worrying about the bad. You can't do anything about it anyway. Who is it that said, I don't remember his name. He said 85% of our worries and our fears are unfounded anyway.
So I have a couple of questions that are coming to mind.
Sure.
You talk about changing your thoughts. And I remember being in a really difficult place where it was really hard to change my thoughts. So how have you helped people? How did you learn to, what techniques, what strategies did you do?
Sure.
To start changing your thoughts?
It's almost like you've heard the term relative to computers, probably garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of apply the same concept to our thoughts. We can be very intentional about filling our mind and filling our thoughts and filling us up with something positive. So, for me, it's, reading something inspiring, reading something positive or something uplifting. And these are just some things that work for me. They may be different for everyone, but, I think that's a big thing. What we're putting into our minds can greatly affect how we're feeling, positive and negative. Mm-hmm. I think that something else I talk about in my book is it's very important in changing our mindset and changing our attitude to help someone else. Because when we help someone else, we realize we get far more out of it than we're giving them. So, find a way to volunteer or to help someone else or to give something. Do something for someone that they can't do for themselves. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to cost money. Sometimes just giving your time is the most valuable thing. Give a hug, give a smile. A lot of times if we just think about how we can help someone else, we find that gives us a boost. Now there's some biological reasons behind that, because it does release those feel-good endorphins that helps us feel better. So, I'd love to think about that. Change what you're putting in, thoughts, books, movies, inspirational movies, songs. And the second thing is, helping someone else. Start small. That's the third thing that I say. It's a lot of times when we set goals in anything we want to do in life, we set big goals because they're inspiring. I want to be different or change a career or lose 15 pounds in a month. Big goals are inspiring and exciting, but our successes come in those daily wins. And so I think that's a lot of times we get overwhelmed when we set a big goal or a challenging goal. So especially when we're changing our mindset and changing our attitude, don't worry about eating the whole pie today. Think about just taking one bite. What's one thing that I can do today? Maybe it's just read a poem or find an affirmation that you like. Just one little thing. It doesn't have to be big. Move forward an inch. If that's all you've got, if that's all you can do today is move forward an inch, go for it. little baby steps. And we underestimate how they can add up over time.
Mm-hmm. And that was very helpful. And I think you've shared a lot of different strategies for different people, because not everybody, right, is going to like, not everything resonates with every person. So I really appreciate you giving lots of different ideas. One thing that I think it would be great for this audience to hear is how you're living the life of your dreams now.
Oh, wow. After I left home, I went, I didn't have a high school diploma. So the only job I really could find was waiting tables. And I mean, nothing wrong with that. I learned a lot about the good side and the bad side of people waiting tables. But it didn't take long. I was making $2.13 an hour, picking up half-eaten pizza crusts off the floor. And it didn't take me long to figure out that wasn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's something that you enjoy in that service field, that's a great thing. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't the life of my dreams. So I started going to school. I had to go to school at night. I worked 2 jobs most of the time over the next 10 years. Going to school full-time, working full-time and a part-time job. I got married and balancing a house and a family, and I have a stepson, and very blessed to have those relationships. So over the years, it took me a while to get to that point where, I was successful. I finally had achieved a great job. I had a good career, very fortunate to have an organization that really supported me in growing. And it was my plan to retire from that hospital. And, in 2013, I heard Les Brown speak, and he said, "You have a story to tell, and someone needs to hear your story. Only you can help that person." Now, he was speaking to a room of hundreds of people, but I thought, you know what? I have a story, but I don't want to tell it. And I spent 6 months wrestling with that decision. And if you're a person of faith, I say that, I felt God tapping me on the shoulder going, this is why I've brought you through this. And I went, no, Lord, go find somebody else. And I spent 6 months saying, you got the wrong person. I'm very happy and comfortable where I'm at. I don't want to get outside. I don't want to talk about that. My scars from the past. We all have scars. But I didn't want to share mine. I didn't want to talk about that. So I'd spent so much of my time and so many years building up this image of just being tough and being strong. And in truth, there's still pain sometimes. So it was 6 months after that, I heard Les Brown speak. We went to a Les Brown speaker training. And I thought, I could be a speaker, but I don't want to talk about me. I just want to talk about other things. I can do that. So we went to the speaker training, and part of the training was a 1-minute contest. Everyone had the opportunity to speak for 1 minute. They could say anything they wanted. You could only speak for 60 seconds. And 5 of the winners, the 5 winners would be chosen to speak on stage with Les Brown. And, I'd really been feeling this pressure for the last several months about this be an opportunity for me to share my story. And, at that time, my husband knew and a few very close family members, but no one else knew. And I thought, I can't do it. And the morning of the contest, I had a meltdown in the ladies' room, like it was mascara running. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And, it's almost when we get to that point of saying, maybe I can't do it, but I can do it with the help of someone else. Now, for me, faith played a big part in that, and saying, okay, I can do it. If I find a reason why, if I can help someone else by sharing my story, then that gives me a sense of purpose and a reason to do it. And, I shared my story at the 1-minute contest. And when I sat down, it didn't matter if I had won the contest or not, because I'd won such a much bigger victory over myself, and just saying, I'm not going to let it define who I am any longer. Mm-hmm. Anything we go through, we can choose to let it define us and hold us back, or we can say, I want to be refined, but there's a difference in that. Instead of defining me, it refines me. So I did win the contest. As it turns out, I was one of the 5 winners, and my husband and I both got to speak on stage with Les Brown in Los Angeles about 6 months after that. So 10 days later, after I won that contest, I realized that I was chasing a new dream. You know, I was moving from a career and a successful career, but I had discovered a calling. And for me, that was profound. 10 days later, I resigned that job I'd worked so hard and gone to school for so long. But you know, it's John Maxwell. I heard him say one time that once you've tasted significance in the life of someone else, success is just never enough. And he was right. So here I am, almost 4 years later, and 8 books later.
Wow.
Yeah, living the life of my dreams. One of the things Mac and I are very intentional about is, you know, anytime we have an opportunity, we say, will this help me move in the right direction? Will this help me go in the direction of my dream? And if not, then the answer is no. That's something I decline. So we speak together. We travel all over the United States and sometimes even internationally. We'll be in Phoenix in just a few weeks, and then Mississippi. So, you know, we love what we do, but we love doing it together because for us, part of our dream was to be able to be together. You know, when I was working in healthcare, I was working, you know, 50 plus, maybe more hours a week, and he was working in a different industry. And, you know, like most couples, we would see each other on the weekend or maybe in the evening sometimes. But our dream was to be together. So we figured out how to get the life that we want, and don't settle for the life that most of us are willing to just accept.
So inspiring. And my husband and I have the same dream.
That's
similar
awesome.
dream, to be working together and do things together, because it's hard when you're apart. When you know, when you're a good fit together, it's hard to be apart. That's the best way to explain it. So, and it's peaceful when you are together. So I totally understand that feeling, and I'm looking forward to being able to do what you're doing with my husband, defined differently, but still together.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you get married. That's what we do. But you actually like them.
Yeah, that's just it. Yeah, I really like hanging out with you. So this is just an incredible, I just really appreciate everything that you shared with people today. There's a lot of little nuggets of information for people to grab hold of. I feel honored to be part of helping you share your story and tell your story. So that was unexpected for me. So thank you.
No, it's my
very
pleasure.
much. And did you have any final words or final thoughts for our listeners?
You know, sometimes someone asked me, what's the best advice that I would give if someone was going through the same situation?
Okay.
What I would say to that person. And, you know, regardless of whether your story is like mine or not, I think one thing that's important is that we all need to know that we are special and unique and loved. And, you know, it's just like seashells on the shore. They may be chipped or maybe even broken, but they're still beautiful and special and unique. One thing I love to say that each and every one of you who are listening, you're special and beautiful and unique in your own different way. And just take that to heart.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Ria.
Thank you, Giselle. Take care.
Okay, take care.